Okay, today I'm in London in the Racing Post offices with Tom Kerr once again, but this time we're in the editor's office. Thanks for agreeing to talk to us, Tom. Congratulations on becoming the editor of the Racing Post. When we last talked, probably at the end of the summer, did you see it coming?
No, I did not. At the time, Bruce had not announced his intention to step down. I don't think even he had decided to step down then. So as far as I was concerned, everything was staying as it was for the foreseeable future. So it was a bit of a shock when he said he was going to be leaving. And when I heard that, my first thought wasn't, I'm going to apply for his job. It was, oh, so Jesus, what happens now? And it was only after a bit of reflection I thought I'll give it a go. And it was a bit of a surprise to get the job, to be honest. I certainly didn't set out thinking it was going to be me. The bookies agreed. I think I was as short as 12-1, but as big as 50-1 with Star Sports, which was, frankly, an insult. But it was clearly a bit of a surprise to the bookies and frankly to myself.
Okay, so you've sort of jumped into this now. Then, how is your life going to change with the new responsibility of being the helm of the trade daily?
Sure, it's a big responsibility to my staff, to the sport, to the industry as a whole. We've got an important job to do for our customers, providing accurate, fast, insightful information when they want it, where they want it, and that's basically it's 365-day-a-year job. It's going to occupy a lot of time, a lot of thinking time, a lot of management time. So, under no illusions, it's a big job.
Has the pressure kicked in yet?
To a degree, yeah. Sleep has suffered somewhat. Not getting my 8 hours, I don't think, anymore. But mostly enjoying it, really. Actually, there's a fantastic team here, and it's really exciting working with them on new ideas and thinking about things we could do to improve our coverage and make what we do bigger and better.
Okay, now when you were working under Bruce, I'm pretty sure you had a good relationship with him, but did you quietly shake your head and disagree with some of the things that he was doing?
Yeah, I got on really well with Bruce, and he's helping me out now. He's still there as someone to run ideas by, which I really appreciate. He's got amazing experience in this game. 11 years as editor. I don't know how long he's been in newspapers, but much longer than that. So he is an expert, but of course there are times when we disagree. There's things I'm going to do differently or see differently. We've all got different perspectives, but to be fair to Bruce, I don't think he ever expected or wanted a bunch of yes men around him. Like most editors, I think he valued and he appreciated when people said, no, I don't actually agree with that. So it wouldn't always have been a case of sort of like quietly shaking my head. There were times when I sort of took a different line from him, and we'd have a discussion, and he'd challenge you to stand up your beliefs, and that's the sort of editor I want to be as well. I want my staff, my reporters, to feel empowered to come to me, to disagree with me, and then we can work out what the best course of action is.
Was there anything that he did that you disagreed with so much that you're going to now reverse that? Nothing springing to mind, frankly. No, I mean, I think there's if anything, there's a few things where probably when I was not sat in this chair, it was easier to disagree with. But when you're in the position of making decisions, in the position of being accountable for decisions, they become more understandable. Everything has an equal and opposite reaction, and you need to be aware of the big picture. So sometimes you get a new perspective on things. Right, so you see things differently sat in the chair you're in now as opposed to your previous?
To a degree, yeah. I mean, it doesn't change your sort of fundamental beliefs or values, but there's a degree of pragmatism that you need to apply to decisions, and that's just the nature of the job.
Have you got a main priority, number one on the list you need to tick off what you're going to do?
Oof, it's a deceptively difficult question.
I guess my main priority is to keep the standards high, to look at what we're doing digitally and how we can sort of kick that on to the next level. There's lots of opportunities there in terms of how we present stories, how we cover things, how we use our data. It's really exciting. And I want to make sure that my team of journalists are happy and engaged and enjoying their jobs.
And one of the things that people buy the Racing Post for, they're looking for value, they're looking for best prices, they're looking to get the edge over the bookies, etc. When you look at I think the Telegraph is £1.80 and the Daily Mail 70p, and you're £2.90. Can you really say that the punters are getting value still?
Yeah, I mean, I think we're really good value because we're a specialist newspaper. I think maybe a more apt comparison would be to look at the Financial Times, which is much closer to us. Specialist information carries higher costs because it's not for a mass market audience. The Times and the Telegraph have a potential audience of every single person who's interested in news in the United Kingdom. We have a potential audience of everyone who's interested in horse racing or betting in the United Kingdom and Ireland. It's a much smaller potential market. So for us to make a business that works, we need to price ourselves as a specialist publication. Now that said, I think we're great value. We've got as our adverts say, we've got 200 experts working, analysing, reviewing races, investigating news stories, interviewing people. I think we produce some fantastic products, and I think it's good value.
And I think we touched on this last time, but is the Racing Post remaining in a print format imperative to the survival of the brand?
I think, listen, any newspaper shutting is a really, really sad day. You saw The Independent a few years ago go from print to digital only, and I think it lost something as a consequence. Certainly the brand lost something. So I would be absolutely focused on ensuring that the print newspaper survives as long as possible. I personally, as a consumer, like newspapers, even though I use my phone or my laptop to get my news most of the time. I like sitting down with a newspaper. I like going to the races with a Racing Post. I think it gives a different experience, and I think a lot of our customers value that as well. And frankly, it's my job to ensure that we're selling enough copies of the paper every day to keep the paper going, and that's what I intend to do.
Okay, now you are obviously a newspaper, reporting the news and providing the form, etc. Do you think that the Racing Post should take on the big issues to the racing authorities and sort of, you decide to champion a cause, you should follow it through? Is that part of how you think the paper should be?
Yeah, I champion a cause is perhaps a little bit different to what I'd see our responsibility. I think as a newspaper, we're there to challenge, we're there to investigate, we're there to shine a light on mistakes or wrongdoing, and that's going to mean challenging people who would prefer not to be challenged. There's an old line about journalism being something that other people don't want published. Everything else is PR. It's a good line, and that's the truth of it. We as journalists need to be willing to take on people, organisations, when we think people are making a mistake. And I think our readers expect that of us.
So as an editor, this is only just examples. If you decided as a newspaper that, right, it's time the whip was banned, or it's outrageous that they're thinking about closing Kempton Park, we should really fight, would you make a decision and then take a stand, or are you going to just report what's happening, or do you think you're going to actually go for changing things as a paper?
I think there's times and occasions where the paper can take an editorial view and say this is the right thing to do. You gave two examples there, the whip and Kempton.
you know, my view is that the first of those, the whip, I've written before that I think it will likely end up being restricted to use for encouragement for safety only, and you know, I believe that will be the case, and I think in the long term that will probably be for the best for racing. However, I recognise that a lot of people have different views on that, and they hold those views strongly. So it would be remiss of me to then say, well, my newspaper is going to take that stance regardless of what my other journalists think. I just don't think that's fair or responsible. I think there's a debate to be had there, and I think it's important to have that debate. You also mentioned Kempton. Now, while I would happily allow one of my columnists or writers to write that they believe that it's a good idea to close Kempton and to take that money and invest it elsewhere, such as in Sandown, and Alistair Down, who's one of our top writers, does hold that view. God knows why. But I would be more than happy to put on the front page, you know, closing Kempton would be a terrible move, because I think that's well, first of all, I believe it very strongly, and second of all, I know that's a view held widely by racing fans and racing professionals, and I think especially when there's consensus around an issue, and a lot of people feel strongly about it, you know, it can be beholden on us to sort of amplify those voices and use our influence for the benefit of the sport.
Okay, so under your leadership, in 12 months' time, do you see a noticeably different paper from when the last day that Bruce was in charge?
I think there's probably small things that people may or may not already be noticing. You know, there's changes that I brought in, you know, in terms of how we're presenting stories, the use of data, you know, how we're doing front pages, etc. So there are changes, but it's an evolutionary process rather than a revolutionary process. I think if you laid them side by side, you definitely notice a difference. But I think for most of our readers, what they're interested in is the quality of our coverage. I believe we already do a good job. I want us to do an even better job, but hopefully readers will just simply go on enjoying what we do and appreciating what we do, and remaining our readers of our publication.
Great stuff. Well, Tom Kerr, editor of the Racing Post, thank you very much.
No problem.